Donnie's World. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome to Donnie's World. Thank God it's Friday. Okay, so the videos you've been watching, the Donnie's World videos you've been watching for the past few weeks, were pre-recorded in June before I took off to the United States and the United Kingdom for much needed breaks. And I went there to see my beloved son and my beloved siblings. My son lives in Los Angeles, my siblings live in London, and so I've been away for like a couple of months, and now I'm back. And even though I'm always complaining about Nigeria, and which has many shortcomings like constant power cuts, I am happy to be back on some levels. And this seems like a good time to talk about the good things about Nigeria. For example, look at this environment. I have a pool, which I share with my 3 neighbors. I have a gym, which again, I share with my 3 neighbors. Now, whether we actually use them or not is a different issue. But the point is that a professional like me, who's not very rich, just earning a reasonable, professional salary or income, would not be able to afford a property like this in America or Britain. Because even though the rent we pay here is pretty high by local standards, in dollars, it's almost nothing. I mean, what I pay my landlord in dollars, if it were in dollars, would not get me a decent 2-bedroom flat in one of the more dingy parts of London. And it wouldn't get me anywhere in Los Angeles, which is more expensive. So that's one good thing about Nigeria, is that you get more bang for your buck in this environment for some things. And another thing I like, even income, is that here we get much more help. We get domestic help that is affordable. So it's not just better properties, more affordable. We get domestic help, and I'm really, really grateful for the support I receive. When you're in London or in America, let me sit down. You have to do everything for yourself, almost everything for yourself. You have to stack the dishwasher, unstack the dishwasher. You have to do, it's just a constant grind of domestic chores, which as you get older gets harder and harder. And whereas in Nigeria, you have nice young girls like Evelyn to assist you. And in London, look, while I was in America, while I was in California, actually, to be specific, I stayed in hotels and I stayed with friends and with my son. And so I didn't have any serious challenges around domestic work. But in London, where I live with my sister, when I'm there, we only have one lady who comes in once a week, and she does a bit of cleaning and ironing for about 5 or 6 hours. And the rest of the time, we have to take care of ourselves. And it's just not easy, I mean, I'm saying this to all those women out there in the world who have to, we know, and men as well, of course, we know how difficult it is and time consuming and stressful and boring it is to have to do everything for yourself. So that's one of the things I like about Nigeria, is that here, domestic help is affordable by people who are not stinking rich. I mean, you practically have to be Elon Musk or Bill Gates in America to have the kind of 24/7 living support that Nigerian women have. And I mean, I'm sure some of you think that we're very pampered and spoiled and that it's unacceptable to have somebody doing all these things for you. But that's the culture here. And it may not last forever, but I'm enjoying it for a while. I've got it. Okay? However, they say that every cloud has a silver lining. So no matter how bad things get, there's always some positive aspect you can glean from a situation. Um, it's also true to say that every silver lining has a cloud. So in this context, the silver lining is the fact that here you don't have to run around carrying your groceries from the car to the kitchen. You don't have to worry about washing up. You don't have to make your own bed. Basically don't have to do anything. In my case, I am a particularly lazy couch potato around any physical activity in the home. And the only time I lift a finger is to do office work or to lift a glass of wine or coffee, you know. So that's the silver lining, for me at least, the way I see life. But the cloud is that because we are not compelled here to do regular domestic work, we don't burn many calories. Nigerian women tend to be larger than women in countries where people have to get off their backsides and do their own stuff for themselves. And so I say that one of the reasons why I am obese is that there's no incentive, it's not mandatory, it's not compulsory to move. And if you don't move much, you don't burn many calories, and it's harder to deal with a weight problem. I mean, in my house, for example, there's a flight of stairs all day. Evelyn and the other girl who works here, Pretty, they're running up and down, bringing me coffee, bringing me lunch, doing stuff for me, organizing my life. So they are fit, they are healthy. Because I don't run up and down the stairs, I'm not very healthy. And so my sister actually said to me, because obviously, as I stay with her in London sometimes, she stays with me in Nigeria sometimes. And she said to me when I was leaving London last week, she said, look, when you get back to Abuja, apart from the fact that you need to tackle your weight problem in a very serious way around food and formal exercise like using the gym and going for walks, you need to move more on a daily basis. You need to do the little movements that seem small but are very big. She says, every time you want a cup of coffee, go downstairs to the kitchen and make it yourself. Don't ask Evelyn or Pretty to do it for you. Every time you want to go and, maybe you need to get something from your bedroom, go and get it yourself. Don't ask the girls to go and get it for you. Oh, you left your earrings behind in the study. Oh, Evelyn, go and get me my earrings. She says, all those little movements, do them yourself. And you'll be amazed how the steps mount up, because, we're all supposed to walk like 10,000 steps a day. And half of those steps can actually come from what you do within your home. Or this, when you rush out to the shops to do some shopping, to buy some food, you don't have to formally get up and put on leggings or shorts and a t-shirt and go for a walk or go jogging. Sometimes you can stay fit just by being active around normal day-to-day things. So that's the cloud behind the silver lining of having help. When you're younger, you don't appreciate help as much as you do when you're older. I mean, like when I arrived in London, the taxi driver who brought me from the airport dropped me on the doorstep, took my suitcases out of the boot of his car, and then left me to carry them. And, I had to carry them upstairs to the room where I stay in my sister's house. Here, that would never happen. Because, if Evelyn doesn't carry it for me, there's always somebody to do things for you here. And as you get older, you appreciate it more. And yet, in a way, they're doing you a good service, but they're also reducing your ability to stay strong for as long as possible into old age. Because it's actually probably quite good to lift suitcases, lift grocery bags, and just generally make yourself more useful to yourself and less dependent on domestic staff or security guards or drivers, or because in Nigeria, a driver, that's another thing. There's always someone to do stuff for you. Even if you don't ask, if you get to the airport in Nigeria and you're dragging some bag along and someone comes and takes it from you and says, Madam, please let me help you. So, well, that's another thing about Nigeria that I like is that here, there's a lot of sympathy for people who are old and who look exhausted and who are, especially the ones who are a bit overweight and sort of like looking a little bit overwhelmed. So, I'm back. And over and above the fact that I have this new resolution to try and do more for myself and to be more active, I also intend to address my weight problem in a more formal way. And there are so many different ways of dealing with weight, losing weight, dealing with weight issues. I'm not really, I may try lots of different methods, but for now, I am sold on the idea that the best way forward for me is fasting, intermittent fasting and extended fasting. I belong to a Facebook group of women and men who fast because it has dual benefits. One is that, of course, it's very good for weight loss, and if you refeed properly, as they call it, and don't just sort of like dive back into binging on sugar and bread and carbs and whatever as soon as you've finished your 1 day fast or 5 day fast or whatever, you can actually have a really consistent and stable, sustainable weight loss result. But the second thing about fasting that has persuaded me to take fasting seriously is that it triggers something called autophagy. AUTOPHAGY. You can Google it if you're interested. And the people on my Facebook group, there's so many benefits. I mean, I've experienced it myself because I actually fasted for 3 days once, and all the arthritic pains in my fingers fled and didn't come back for 6 weeks, even though I went back to sort of binging on sugar after the 3 days. And there's so many things people report, so many healings. People with psoriasis, of course, diabetes is a well-known one that benefits from fasting. There's so many things. People who have lung problems, people who have skin problems, people who have all kinds of health conditions report significant improvements because of fasting. So I'm just saying, in my usual long-winded way, that I am going to commit myself to fasting as my preferred method of weight loss. Some of you who've been watching me since I started this channel at the beginning of the year will know that I tried Ozempic, the famous weight loss injection, and it was quite good for a couple of months, but it's expensive here in Nigeria, and I lost 25 kilos actually, 11 kilos in the first month of using Ozempic, and I didn't take it every single week. But I sort of like ran out of steam. I found it became less effective at suppressing appetite and suppressing, food obsession, which is like a psychological, mental thing. And like I said, it costs a lot. And I've actually decided that fasting is a healthier and better way for me personally to deal with the fact that I am extremely, extremely fat. And that extreme fatness also causes joint pain, knee pain. I have problems walking. I have problems breathing. I want you to stay with me on this journey because I'm about to start this fasting challenge, which an exercise challenge, and to try and be more consistent. So let's see how I get along, and I will provide regular updates. I'm going beyond the weight. I'm going to do something about my skin. I mean, you can't tell how dingy my skin is because I'm actually wearing foundation, I'm wearing makeup, but underneath the makeup, my skin is looking tired and dead. And I'm going to consult a dermatologist, and I'm going to start using some of those expensive skincare products, which I have but never use because I'm so lazy. And so, let's see how it goes. I think I will start looking better and feeling better between now and Christmas. like I said, it's an ongoing project. It's it's progress in the making. Okay, so back in Nigeria, the funniest thing is that while I was in London, people told me, oh, kind of, if you can delay your return to Nigeria, please do, because a bunch of anti-government protests are about to start from people who are feeling the pinch. People are really poor here. People are really suffering. And so they were going to do nationwide protests against the government here in Nigeria. And while I was in London, people said to me, don't rush back. It might get ugly. There might be violence. And so I contacted the airline, British Airways, and I said to them, well, if I postpone my trip by a few days back to Nigeria, how much will it cost? And they quoted a price that was, way beyond me. So I decided to come back anyway. And guess what? A couple of days before I left London, riots broke out in the United Kingdom from white people who are tired of what they call, like, they don't like black people, they don't like Asian people, most of them don't like Jews either. So I'm sure the the reason for the riots was that they are concerned about immigration, and which is out of control and so on. But kind of, I just saw them as standard race riots, to be honest with you. Bigoted people who don't like foreigners. But we'll go into all that kind of stuff at a later date, because I'm going to focus on news items a little bit more in future. Because up till now, it's been mostly emotional things I've talked about. Things like fear of death, dementia, the toll dementia takes on family members. Like that's how my mother died. But I'll be touching on international and local news a little bit more in future. So we'll talk about things like immigration as time goes by, but not today. So I am, despite having said that I'm glad to be back for some reasons, I am very worried about the direction Nigeria is going in. There's a kind of like depressing aura hanging over the country. A lot of young people are desperate to leave and move to Canada or other countries. And I'm not talking about wasters and losers. I'm talking about solid, well-educated people or hardworking people who want to go and try their luck in a country that appreciates talent and hard work more. Nigeria has a long way to go in terms of all that. And it even affects people like me. I mean, you'd think that I was too old to start talking about moving back to London. I mean, I'm of Nigerian extraction. My parents were from here. My ancestors are from here. I'm 64 years old. Why on earth would I be thinking of moving back to another country at this stage, which is more or less retirement age? But the truth is that I am, I am quite depressed on the one hand about the state of the country. And I know a lot of people of my age have the same problem, but few of them have the right to live abroad as I do have the right to live in the United Kingdom. So that's something that we'll be looking into in the next few weeks. It's kind of, you've actually asked me to talk more about Nigeria. Some of the viewers have written to me, and I will talk more about Nigeria. I will talk more about what it's like to live here and why so many of us, both young and old, are just fed up, Okay, so, but overall, today, I'm quite cheerful. I saw my lovely, lovely son, Oliver. We had a great time in California. He lives in Los Angeles, and we went to a wedding in San Francisco, and we visited Susie and Tommy and their lovely families in San Diego. These are old school friends whom I haven't seen for like 30 years, because they went to school in the UK as well, Susie and Tommy. And I saw Blessing, who's a Nigerian woman who lives in Santa Clarita, in a Los Angeles suburb, whom I regard as a sister, and her daughters, Ashley and Tiffany. They treated me and Oliver amazingly, treasured guests. So I want to thank everybody who made my time in America so enjoyable. And I want to thank my sister who always puts up with me when I'm passing through London and always gives me good advice. My last word for this week is that one of the things about being in California that was so great is that Kamala Harris, the Democratic Party presidential candidate, the presumptive, because it's not been made official, but Kamala Harris is from California. And so it was really great to listen to how many people in that part of America are, rooting for her. I've always loved Kamala. I love her trouser suits. I love the way she looks. I love the way she talks. I like her infectious laughter, which some people hold against her. And I'm really, really praying that she beats Donald Trump. And I don't want to hear any stories about how Kamala hasn't achieved anything. Most vice presidents don't achieve much, to be honest with you. Um, and I want to thank Joe Biden for stepping down for a black woman. Kamala is half black and half Asian, and America has never had a woman in that position, especially a woman of color. So it's like it would be just amazing if she could win. And no, I said this was my last word, but I've got one more word. Meghan Markle also comes from California and is also a mixed race black woman, and or a woman of color, I should say. And someone once told me that Kamala and Meghan are basically the same type of person, but I totally disagree. I think Kamala is a quality person and Meghan is not. But I'll talk about that again. I've talked about it in the past. But the most interesting thing is that while I was in California, I was thinking, well, hey, Meghan's from California as well. And, I guess she'd be really popular here. So I should be careful not to make too many disparaging comments about her. But guess what? I hardly met anybody in California who was pro Meghan and Prince Harry, her husband. So, if they're not that popular in California, where are they popular? Interesting. I hear they've got a trip to Colombia coming up this week. So, can't wait to see how that goes. Thanks for listening. Bye.